Good evening, Tewksbury. It is 6:00 PM on Thursday, August 17th, 2023, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Tewksbury Board of Health to order. First on the agenda tonight is approval of minutes from our July 20th, 2023 meeting. I know they were emailed to you folks. I'd already gone through and made some grammatical edits. So does anyone have any questions or any comments or proposed changes to the minutes?
I don't.
No.
Okay. Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion from someone to approve the minutes as submitted.
I motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Okay. And a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So the motion's been put forth and second to approve the minutes of the July 20th, 2023 Tewksbury Board of Health meeting as submitted. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Okay, on the agenda, we did have a tobacco sales to minor violation hearing, but that is under the request of the owner of the business. That's been moved to September, which is fine. Our tobacco control agent, Ron Beauregard, is able to attend the September meeting, so, and the fine's not being contested.
Is this a first or a second?
This is a first. Yep. Okay, old business. Jade East, update on progress from our July 20th meeting. So if you folks like to. So if you remember, you need to sign your name and address in that form, and then once you've done that, just say it into the microphone for the record, please. Okay, so Director Gillis, I'll have you start off this one.
Since the last meeting, I received their standard operating procedures that the consultant had submitted. I approved those, and the reports since last meeting have showed that there's been no violations, especially focusing on the temperatures. Those have seemed to be within range. Also, the JDs did extend their contract with the consultant to October, as we asked. And then I'll let the consultant give an update on their side.
Okay.
Hi, yes, since from the last meeting, and JE has much improved on everything. And I checked with the head chef, and everything's look much better than last month. And there's almost no violation I find on each visit. And head chef still offer the training every day to the staff and try to improve. Yes, and hopefully everything will be perfect or acceptable after a couple more weeks.
Okay, and I believe that one of the other things that we're going to be looking into was getting serve safe training for the chef, or retraining for the chef. Oh, you can. So I think you were just going to try to identify a course. So if you can just give us an update on where things stand with that.
Oh, I didn't teach the course. They went to another training class in Boston and took the exam. Yeah, I didn't teach the class for a long time because I'm busy, so I didn't give the class to the student.
Okay.
So it looks as though 2 additional staff have been.
Yes, right, and one is the female owner, I forgot her name, and another one is the appetizer cook.
Okay. Is this for me, or do you need it back?
You can get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I think from the last meeting, the issue's been the standard operating procedures. And just to clarify for everyone else, what were those standard operating procedures for?
One was for cold holding. I forget what the other one was for. Do you,
One is for the cold cooling,
yeah,
and another one is for the like the cold the hot holding.
Okay. So I think it was between that, the Serve Safe certification, recertification for the head chef, which I think you'd mentioned there are certificates there for not only the chef, but 2 other employees as well. So
Correct.
we asked for 1, you got 3 trained. I know there'd been talk about trying to have the rest of the folks trained, but I think that's a good start. So I guess questions from board members about progress.
No, I think that's great that you now have 3, which is, that's really good. And then the chef, did he take the test again, or was it just like an addendum that you have there, Shannon? Is the chef, did he take a whole new test, or is that just an addendum to his Serve Safe?
so these are 2 additional staff that were trained in food protection manager.
And what about the chef? Do you have anything there showing that he?
I believe he
Yes,
already has it.
Yes, he has one, and it should be every 5 years.
I understand that. My concern was that he's always had Serve Safe, but yet the knowledge that he has from the Serve Safe certificate that he had wasn't going down to the employees. So one of the suggestions was to ensure that he had sort of an added refreshing course.
Oh,
Whether-
Since the last meeting, I talked to the owner, and he bought the boat. It's the Chinese test boat in Serve Safe, and it pays in the restaurant, in the kitchen. So anyone in the kitchen, if they forgot something, they can take a look at.
He was trained in the SOPs by the consultant
Okay.
to pass that on to staff.
I mean,
All right.
when I'm not here, yes, right, thank you.
All
Okay.
right, thank you. That's all I had.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions from board members?
No questions. I just wanted to say, good job for getting that situated. I'm glad to hear that there have been no violations, so keep it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep it up.
Okay, Sarah, yeah, thank you.
I have a quick
Oh, go
question.
ahead.
It seems that this has been an ongoing issue for quite some time, and we've extended the consultant until October. I was wondering what the plan is for JD, should we have no violations post-October, and what is the staff going to do to ensure there are no more food safety violations after the consultant has left the picture? Do we have a plan of action, or could we request a plan of action for this, should there be no more violations?
Okay, I will discuss how, I think, at the end of September, I think I will discuss this restaurants with Sharon once again, and see, do we need to continue the service after October, or reduce the visit? Because right now I do go over there once every week. Maybe if they do better, then can reduce less. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. All set?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah, so just for your benefit, the purpose behind having the department have the food establishment owner engage a food safety consultant is that it's not the department's role to try to educate and oversee and train the folks, but a professional comes in and to do that.
That's
And
very well and good. However, this has been going on for quite some time, and knowing that there's an end plan in sight when the consultant is no longer in the picture, rather than perpetually extending the consultant with no end date in mind, it would be good to have some sort of exit route for either the consultant or for the Board of Health from the situation. or the Department of Health from this situation. So having some sort of plan of action to work with the restaurant, either to make sure that the consultant is effective or for us to take an action would be appropriate, in my opinion.
So I'll let you answer that one.
Typically, we just see where they are towards the end. Where this is the department ordered it, not the board. We just kind of reevaluate to see where they're at. And as of right now, they're doing better, but that can also change.
But even in the past few months, they've done better and then dipped.
That's why I had them come before the board.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I'm suggesting potentially a discussion of the board acting as the board to take action if this is not remedied.
Yeah, I think if I can cut in, I think one of the things that we had done in the last meeting was we rolled out specifics that they had to do for this meeting, and the Serve Safe was the most important thing because
And they
that
executed.
teaches them, and they did it. So I really believe that they're going the right way right now. And
Right.
trust me, I'm strict when it comes to that. But I believe everything that we've told them to do, they're doing it. And now it's just a matter of
The follow through on their part.
both of our parts, and just
Exactly.
follow through. But
So we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah, what we usually, once the board mandated consultant coming on, is we've usually stipulated that the consultant needs to be retained for at least a period of 3 months when there's been 0 violations noted by the consultant, because we know it's easy to fix something right at that point in time,
Of course.
but our concern is more long-term, so we're trying to, both when we do it, or the department, when they do it, try to ensure that the food safety consultant is there for a long enough period to try to ensure that the good habits are continuing to be practiced.
Yes, I agree and understand that. My concern is that as soon as this is over, what is going to happen? And we need to ensure that this is not going to become another year-long endeavor.
Yeah, we have our routine inspections that we do.
Excellent.
Okay, next item for old business is 175 Kendall Road. You folks like to come up? And this is for noncompliance with an order letter from the Health Department that was issued back in 2019 for the keeping of animals.
I feel like that language is wrong.
What's that?
Because we issued an order of compliance last December, so I think that language is just inaccurate on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be 2019 because we had a new one last year, right? Last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess tonight's is more for the, based
December.
around the August 1st, 2023 noncompliance letter.
Yes.
So, Director, I'll let you start off this one.
So the board in December last year, we issued a letter of compliance because there was outstanding issues on the property that were addressed. At the time, there were no animals and no animal structures. And during that meeting, it was explained if they were looking to get animals in the future, they could apply for a registration and/or a permit. So January of this year, we received an application for a registration. I did look at it. It does appear that there was no specific animals listed. However, Pam went to the property and there were 9 chickens and 2 rabbits. At that time, she did not approve the registration because you can have up to 12 chickens or 2 to 4 rabbits according to our keeping of animals regulation. Pam went back on July 28th to do a reinspection after she told them to get rid of either the rabbits or the chickens. And at that time, there was still 9 chickens and 14 to 15 rabbits. So that triggered me to write an order letter again to the property to have them come before the board, since this has been an ongoing issue with this property. Also, they started to build animal structures, which I don't believe they checked with the building department to see if they need a permit for those. And so they're here before the board tonight to discuss this.
Okay, so I think from the board standpoint, we more want to get an idea of what are your intentions moving ahead for numbers of animals, and then making sure you then go down the correct process, either for registration or going through the permit application. So this is not a hearing tonight, this is just to gauge what are your plans for having animals, and then to guide you in terms of which path, registration or permit, do you need to go through.
What the plan is, what I can see, you guys give us so many chances, and I can say no, because it's true. But what is the situation, we are in the same spot all the time. And we have a control with these things, because if you're talking, you're gonna start yelling, screaming, so I don't know what I can say. I don't even know words, because tonight I feel ashamed to sit in this chair again. You know?
No, I'm fully aware of that.
May I ask,
Go ahead.
are you having a hard time understanding the regulations? Is there some way?
No, I never
Okay.
had the time, I understand the.
And applying for the
But
permits?
this guy beside me don't understand, I understand, of course I do.
Of course, I understand completely. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the issue is,
I'm asking,
culture, he's old school, which I fully understand. It's my property, I should be able to do what I want to do on my own property, and it's just,
I think it's best we not put words in the citizens' mouths.
Can I ask a question?
È tutta frizzata 5 pere. Non bene.
Have you explained to him, or is he not willing to get a permit? Is that the
I
issue?
explained so many times, even tonight before we came here. I explained everything, what, the paper, you send it to me, what it says. But they say no, because this land, it's all with the with the friends, so you can put whatever I want, but that's not the regulation mean. Everything in this life, sometimes you gotta say yes, but sometimes you gotta say no.
Yeah, the land, everything, the land I have 5 feet high, all the way around. Because I don't like to buy a somebody, the animale, the everything, Ma still, before, when we have the permesso, I got it 22 people. I got the Boretta, I think, come si chiama, Luana. I got it 22 people, the paperwork. When come the meeting over here, come 4 people. The 4 people, one neighbor, the back of the land, ci vuoi, dice, non è privato, the privato. That one 3 people live. Dove? I got the permesso. Poi, I like, che somebody take the permesso, because se non hanno non muore the permesso. Oh, me pay $500 per the permesso. Per take it out, the permesso, no go di giudizio, nothing. Take it out di giudizio. The permesso. Un anno no more. The permesso. Now, to help chicken, un anno di permesso. Come over here, no anno di permesso, me no sign. Like this discrimination e like this ricatto in italiano. Io il ricatto non ci sto. Se mi understand io.
Understand what I say? I try to explain him when the first time is applied to every this animal. So they give it like the permission to have 12 chicken. I don't know that time. I mean a rabbit. I mean quails. I mean things. Okay. You give a lot of chance to have all these things. But when they came and they check all the animal, they found so many quails, so many rabbits, so many chickens. So it's go over the, you know what it is. So they take away the permits.
Yeah, so that's been the challenge, is that
The reason why.
when you have gotten the permit, you put a number down, and then when they go out for a new inspection,
Ma mi avete permesso, there's no permesso. Come Pamela, hey, Mike, good for you, good information. Why? But I got a 25 chicken. No, she said me I got 15, 18, she's have enough. Come 2 months later, 3 months later, hey, I got a 45 chicken. I don't need 45 chicken per me. Like a joke. I mean, no, I got this. Well, cioè, take it out to the permits, everything. Why? Me? Nobody. Nobody chiede me the chicken go nelle property or they hanno property the neighbor over here. Me nobody. Why?
But
This accanimento
excuse me,
è
he
nei
doesn't
confronti.
understand why you guys take out the permits. He doesn't understand, he doesn't go in this mind, the reason why.
He had a permit in the past. He's well aware of the regulations. We've been here many times, and the reason you don't have a permit is because you had many issues at the property. With the state, it was a multi-thing, and you're well aware, I was there,
Quando come
and
over
you
here,
no longer have a permit. And in order to keep your animals, you need to apply for a permit or a registration. That's what you need to do. And you know that. It's been told to you many times by many people, including this board.
com'è?
Your friends in other towns have different regulations. It is not Tewksbury.
Dice, io dice, ti hanno dato tante opportunità, dice a te, e ti ha detto l'ultima opportunità da Villa, ma tu dici, manco dice, seguisci le regulation, dice che sta a mettere senza permesso istantaneamente.
Come la metti? Mi ha detto 1 anno di probation, finisci
So does he-
probation,
Does he understand why the permit was taken away from him?
I tried to explain it to him so
Do
many times.
do you understand why the permit was taken away from you?
Ma tu dici, capisci why gli deve levare un permesso a te?
no.
Okay. So it was because, from my correct me if I'm wrong, what you had on the permit, what was permitted, and when they went to go to check, it was not correct. It was not by what was written on the permit, and it was not in good standing.
I'm sorry, you talk, I mean, non understand, I know.
Ti sta dicendo, dice, tu dici, capisci, dici, perché ti levare un permesso a te? Perché io ti avevano dato permesso, ma quando io ci vennero a vedere, non ti trovavo più le cose che io ti avevano
No,
dato
non
a te.
La via più piccola, tu permesso, il primo permesso, dici tu. No, la via,
First
Ti avevo
one.
detto che aveva avere tutte queste cose qua.
la via più
E tu
piccola
levavo
animale.
per questo.
La via più piccola animale io.
Ok.
So then when you came here in front of us, we had stated, we had told you that before you do anything else, you would have to ask for either a registration or a permit, depending on what you wanted. So, depending on what you wanted would depend on what paperwork you needed to fill out. And so that was not done, and that is why you're here right now.
Excuse me, and then when we talk about the night, now it's the winter come, in the springtime, we're going to see, we're going to talking about, if you can have, the chicken and the rabbit or whatever.
Because we even said,
It's a day,
Yeah.
we're going to start all again.
because we even said we would clear the slate like it was, normal. And if you came in front with the paperwork and everything was good, then there shouldn't be an issue. However, you added these animals without the paperwork, and that is why you are here. Do you understand that?
Quando tu vieni steccata, ci ragioniamo, dice, ok, dice, ti diamo che steccata. Ancora però non è stato niente, io non ho permesso. So, dice, aspetta, dice, per springtime, dice, dopo quando è stata una carta, tu puoi avere, non chiede che c'è che ti dice, ma tu dici, manco se questo so potevi istruire, perché senza avere permesso, tu mettiste tutte cose a re.
Ma io mi dico, 12 chicken.
So let me add something, because this part has really not been stated before. Historically, when you've had the permit for a specified number of specific animals, inspections after that have found that there've been more. So our remedy for that is, you're welcome to come back before the board or the department and just ask for an updated permit to increase the quantity of animals. So it's not a case where we're saying you can't have, we just want to know that the permit covers the amount of animals that you have. And we realize, especially with rabbits are going to multiply. So what you have on a permit for keeping of animals for rabbits, you'll start off with a small number, and you can't eat them as fast as they're growing or coming rabbits, that you would just come back to the department and say, I have X more rabbits, so I want to increase the quantity of rabbits on my permit. And then they'd be able to accommodate that.
In addition to that, the conditions where those animals were unsanitary. This is how this all started.
Excuse me, say again, you're not sure.
The animal shanties that you had in the past,
Before? No.
with all the quail, the pigeons, everything, which were not permitted here, but also by the state, the conditions were unsanitary. And the MSPCA, a lot of people were involved in that. And that's what brought us here, and that's why we had you remove everything. And now, you're building again, and we can't have conditions that we had back in 2018. That can't happen again. And that's what we're trying to prevent by you getting a permit and having it inspected properly.
So that means before they give the permit, you guys give the permit to him, the inspector property can come to see, the situation.
Correct.
Right?
But you also need to check with the building department on what he is building. I don't know if that needs permits or not. Because the last time when I took the building department out there, those structures were not safe. And that's beyond my scope.
Do you understand what unsanitary is?
Yeah,
Okay,
I understand very well, yeah.
okay,
You don't understand, but I understand.
okay.
All of this years.
So if he wants to keep rabbits and chickens, you need to apply for a permit. If he plans on getting rid of the rabbits and just keeping the chickens,
You guys say, Shan, you gotta choose a say, okay, you have just 6 rabbits, 3 rabbits or whatever. But what you said before, if you said 2 rabbits, before you're not gonna be 200 rabbits.
Ma scusa,
And we're gonna be in the same spots all the time.
if you have a permit though, you're able to have rabbits and chickens.
But where? Inside the house there, outside, where? Remember before I was outside, what's happened? I don't know.
Can you,
non eviterebbe per pezzi. Mi eviterebbe che alla hit
Correct.
the milk, hit the egg, the chicken.
Yep.
Non è per senese che mi fosse la San Maria. Ora mi have 7 rabbit. At September, put inside the freezer because I don't like che I got the food per the rabbit. Start again, se have the permesso. Start again aprile, maggio, perché winter time I don't like it no more. Because too much snow, I got it clean, I got this, I got that. October, September, after September, clean everything. And I have more rabbit, I have just to have a chicken. 9,
Why?
right now I have
Why
9.
not these things before, and they never gonna happen?
In order to do rabbits and chickens, you need a permit. So you would need to apply for a permit, even though you're not keeping them in the winter. That would allow you to get them again in the spring.
So, sì, questo tu come nato?
Sì.
Dice per avere le chicken e le rabbit va bene lo ispettore del building. So ispettore del
Shannon, if they
building
get a
dice ok,
permit, what is
ispettore del building
what is the
dice
number,
no.
the most they can have on property?
Sì, tu come nato?
There is no maximum. It's really up to the animal inspector.
So, you don't speak Italian? You don't speak Italian? Okay, so io parlo italiano un poco. So, ti chiedes quanto chicken? Quanto? Todo?
Total have 9,
You want
Nine.
9 right now.
But in más tarde, later, I'm speaking Spanish, but later, like in 2 months, 2 months, how many chicken? ¿Cuánto?
9, 12, it says.
So no más,
No,
9. So you,
9 and 12, because
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
right now I have 9. But maybe I got it 12
So,
later, because not take it out to 2, 3, they have it to all, no more.
I
eight.
understand.
You know what I mean?
See,
No more,
I
you
understand. So you can have, if you can explain to him, because my Italian isn't very good, he can have all the rabbits or chicken he wants, but he needs to get the permit. We're not telling him he cannot have them. He just needs the permit, and he will get it.
Yeah, but what I don't understand, even with you, you say, if you have the permit, you can have all the chicken and the rabbit they want. But the rabbit, all the time they have a baby, gonna grow and grow and grow. Instead of the 10 rabbit, they're gonna be 30 before you know.
Well,
So if you can have everything, the backyard are gonna be full of rabbit.
right.
You understand what I mean?
So let me just add that
So there'll be a limit.
anyone that comes before us for a permit, this couple as well, we've always told them, when we look at the quantity of animals they have in the permit, say, this is where you're starting, but give yourself some room to grow, so if you things expand, especially with rabbits. Now, he eats some of the rabbits, but he may not be able to eat them fast enough to offset the population. But we also know, especially with chickens, come the cold months, the whole flock does not necessarily survive. So we know there's natural up and down of quantities. So we've always asked people to just guess how many you might have as a maximum, and then Pam would be able to look at, Pam Thomas, the animal inspector, would be able to look at, can that yard and can the facilities they have handle the quantity that they'd like to have
Do you
potentially?
understand what he is saying? Are you following what Ray is saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they've been before, oh, I know, they've been before us many times, and we're just trying to,
It's, so I believe that she totally understands.
oh, yeah.
And I believe that there's just a small piece that he doesn't understand, but if he understood it, he would follow it.
Right.
Because it's just a small piece. The piece is, we need to know ultimately what the ultimate number is going to be that he thinks it's going to be, how many rabbits and how many chickens for the 3 months or 4 months that they have them during the summer. And then get the permit based on that, and he has to keep it
Right.
below that number. If he understood that, I think he would do it.
Right.
I agree.
So,
The other thing that's been an issue in the past is that he's had large numbers, and he has a wide-open backyard, and he will, I'll put it this way, he's very resourceful for building animal housing.
Yeah.
And that unfortunately has led itself to some sanitary conditions. So there is an offset between making sure that he has a permit for the number that he wants, but that the housing for them is also appropriate
Right.
to house that number of animals that he wants. And that's where the issue has been.
right, so it was unsanitary or unclean before. However, we had discussed that, and you, sir, had mentioned that you understood, and so the The fact is that you would have to, you would have to have a maximum number. So let's say you want 20 rabbits. You would have to keep it at 20 or less. And you wouldn't have to come here unless something was unclean. So you have two things to do. You would have to put the maximum number and keep it at that number of animals, and you would have to maintain the property and keep it clean. And then we wouldn't have to be here at all, ever. And you would be totally fine, and it's not, because you had mentioned, it's not that. It's the rules of Tewksbury. It's not my rules, it's the rules of Tewksbury, okay? And so every town has different rules, good, bad, right, wrong, whatever they may be. But you live here, and those are the rules here. So you would have to fill out that form, the permit, because you want both. So it would be a permit for chickens and rabbits, and you would have to put the maximum number of chickens and the maximum number of rabbits you want. And you would have to make sure that they didn't go over. So if you put 20 rabbits, even if you have 5 today, and you put 20, and they give you that permit, you can only have 20. You cannot have 21. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me, but if you say, okay, you can have 10 chicken and 20 rabbit, okay, and he is agree with this. And after the 3-4 months, nobody come and check the property. So you don't know, guys, what's going on in that 3 months. Instead of the 20 rabbit, they're going to be 40 rabbits then.
But that is where you are responsible for that, to maintain that and figure out what you have to do to maintain those 20 rabbits.
To make my mind crazy?
To what?
To make my mind crazy?
I didn't understand, sorry. No, I didn't understand. Say that again?
I told you before, if we say agree, say, okay, 20 rabbit, it's good enough for me.
Yes.
But after the 3-4 months, there's going to be 20 rabbit anymore. Going to be more and more.
So you're not, the idea would be that you're starting with 5.
Right. The idea would, yeah, so,
I get up and go, please.
so that's why I'm saying 20 would be your maximum.
Right.
Meaning,
right.
you don't need 20 right now. You're just, so when they're multiplying, because they do multiply fast, I don't know how many rabbits are born at a time.
I know.
So how many rabbits, like when a rabbit,
Sometimes the baby.
yes, how many babies at one time?
One time 5, sometimes 6,
Okay,
sometimes 10.
okay,
But me, whenever the rabbit, no every month. Every 2 months, I got one no. Because whenever 4 months, me take it out to the first one. Every that one, maybe 10, maybe 7, 5, you know. After I remember, because me, every 1 or 2 family, one boy.
right.
No.
So we would just have, is there a way to just get males?
I'm sorry.
No, just question.
I know in the past, we've talked about plans
Yeah.
for these eventualities. We actually have a farm here that we talked about having a written plan on what happens in a particular situation. Now, if he has a rabbit that has a litter of 10, there needs to be a plan in place so that he can get back into compliance.
Correct.
He needs to have a plan. That means he needs to have a friend, a farm, or someone else that he can depend on to implement his plan. Right now, his problem is compliance. Can't get into compliance. Just by the nature of the animal itself, he has non-compliance. but he doesn't have a plan either. So there's nobody that can assist him in implementing the plan, which is going to result in a violation and end up here. So it would seem to me that with this eventuality, he needs to have a written plan with his permit. Maybe other people don't need a plan with their permit because they don't have this situation, but he does. And it's coming up again and again and again. He wants to get back in, get a permit, have a compliant pen or cage that goes through the building department in the first instance. So he really can't even commence without having a building permit or a determination that that size facility for rabbits doesn't need a permit. But that is the limitation on the permit. Has he gone to the building department? No. So the first thing would be to determine whether or not the structure that he's going to have on his premises is permitted in Tewksbury. And if it is, then that limits the number of animals that can be kept in it. And Pam and any other enforcer would know that that's the limitation. And if it's over the limitation, it's up to the people who have the permit. The permit's self-executed. You have to be in compliance with your permit at all times. That's your duty. Your duty is to be in compliance with the permit, no matter what. So if you have a litter of 10 on Tuesday night, and you're out of compliance on Wednesday morning, you need to have a plan for Thursday. And you don't have that plan. So, before I would approve you for a permit, I would have to have this plan in place. I would need to know who your support group is, where these excess animals are going, how you're going to transport them. This isn't very complicated, but it's necessary for you to be in compliance.
Where is the transport? What do you mean? Where,
Your question is?
you say where this animal to transport? What do you mean?
I'm having,
Oh, so for example, if you have friends that like to eat rabbit meat, then make arrangements with them that when the size of your rabbits gets beyond what you permitted for, that they're going to get some rabbit meat.
if you have a litter of 10 and you have 4 other rabbits, those rabbits need to be processed and given to your friends or to the people that are depending on you for that. They should be aware
Right.
that you have a permit, that you may exceed the number of animals permitted, and that they are the outlet to bring you back into compliance. But we don't have this plan. We require a plan from other farmers for this very thing. We even make them identify a veterinarian in their plan. So their plan has multiple safe spots that you can land, and we can be assured that the town isn't going to be having to expend a lot of time trying to bring you back into compliance. But it's your job to be in compliance. It's your job to count, look at the permit. Permit says 20, you can't exceed 20. On Wednesday morning, you need to get back to 20. How that happens? Process the animals, give away the animals, but you need to be in compliance. That's what this board does. That's Shannon's job. She doesn't have the ability to vary the terms of the permit. It doesn't have a built-in variance that goes up and down. What she looks for is that the permit holder do what's necessary to maintain compliance at all times. And certainly, we can understand that there may be times when that becomes difficult. That's when a call to Shannon for help, and maybe something can be done at that point to bring you back into compliance. But I'll tell you, compliance is a problem with this applicant. It always has been, and it is right up until today. And here you are, you're out of compliance. When you're out of compliance, you can't even get a permit. You can't even apply for a permit. So right now, you have brought yourself to a position where you've made it impossible for the board to assist you because you're in non-compliance. We don't let people that are in non-compliance come back in and get a permit. For instance, there's a bylaw in this town. If you don't pay your taxes, you can't get a permit. You can't get a building permit. That's a bylaw. It doesn't get bent. It doesn't get varied. It's simply a law that we all have to comply with. You need a plan. When you get out of compliance, you need to have a plan to get back into compliance. Whatever that plan is, if it means that you have to process rabbits to get back in compliance, that happens the next day. You can count on your fingers how many rabbits there are. And to be honest with you, we're here to help. We're not here to frustrate you. We're just here because our responsibility is to keep you within compliance of your permit so there's no threat to the public health. If you have 25 or 30 rabbits in a cage or a pen that is only built for 10, that's a problem. Now you're out of compliance with no way to get back in. This leads to enforcement actions. We don't want to be out there doing enforcement actions. We want you to enjoy your rabbits and your chickens with the number that's on the permit and staying in compliance all the time. That's your job as the permit holder. No exceptions. We can't do it for you. All we can do is bring you in and remind you that you need to stay in compliance in order to have that permit. And in order to get a permit, you need to be in compliance in the first instance. And you're not. You have a cage or a pen or a structure that hasn't been approved. We don't know whether the town building department even allows that on your property. That's the first thing. Go to the building inspector, get an opinion. Is this okay? Is this size okay for my property? If he says yes, we know what the limitation is for your rabbits.
And if he say no, it's a no, you know.
If he says no, that's his call. You gotta go to him. You don't come back here.
So it's more problems.
You need to see the building department to determine whether or not whatever structure you're putting on that lot complies with the zoning bylaw. If it doesn't, you can't do it. Or you could apply for a variance through the Board of Appeals or some other method, but not here. We have limited jurisdiction. We're counting chickens and rabbits. We're not here to determine the size of your structure that fits on your lot, but we are here to determine whether that structure is comfortable for the number of animals that you have. And Pam and the enforcement officers are experts at that. That's what they do. They know when an animal isn't safe. So start square one. Does the structure meet the zoning bylaw requirements? That can be answered at the board, at the building department. If it does, then we know what size structure is going to be on your property. You can't increase the size again. That's the size of the structure. You got a permit, that's all you can do. When you get a permit for the number of animals, that's all the animals you can have. When you get over the number, you are responsible for bringing the number back down immediately. That means you have to have a plan, whether that's your friends, processing, giving them away, however that's going to be done. to accomplish compliance, that's your job. And that's what our director expects when she writes that permit. She doesn't expect Pam to go out there and count rabbits and make sure that the structure's the right size. That's your job. And you're not doing your job.
You're gonna do this, what you said?
Pardon me?
I say, you're gonna do this, what you say right now? I don't know.
But he has to. He has to.
I can go down there and I start to count the rabbit, the rabbit ass. So you got a responsible,
You could come back here, why don't you get your calendar and mark every third Thursday or second Thursday, which one is it? Third. Every third Thursday, just put a big X through it and put Board of Health on it, because that's where you're gonna be coming. If you wanna keep animals and not do it in compliance with your permit. You'll be here every Thursday. That's all we can do. Then what we do is we revoke your permit, we take your permit away, we tell you to remove the structure because you're in non-compliance. You hold the keys to compliance. If you don't use the keys, we have to use the keys. And that key is to take the permit away. We don't want to do that. We want you to be in compliance. We want you to know how many animals you're going to have. We want you to have a plan in case it doesn't work out. Very straightforward.
So this means now the next step is to see the building inspector.
Sure, what size is the structure? I can see it. It looks enormous.
Part of it, last time, it was the safety of the structure.
Yeah.
So the way it was built last time was not safe. So it was more so that, but again, beyond my scope. So it couldn't be both issues.
But if the building inspector would have determined this was in compliance with the zoning bylaw, they have no problem with this structure. Now it's just a matter of maintaining it.
Yep.
Then it's a matter of how many animals can safely get in the structure and be sanitary. So we have happy little rabbits and happy chickens. And when it exceeds the number, it's up to you to bring the number back down into compliance.
What are you gonna do? I chop the neck? What are you gonna do?
We're not going to tell you how to do this.
That's your responsibility. If you want to keep these animals, that's your responsibility. And what he's saying is you have to create that plan. So you have to figure out how you're going to do that and present it when you come in front for a permit, because that's something that we're going to want to know, most likely, to ensure that this doesn't happen again, because we don't want you to keep coming here. We don't.
Don't you process some of your rabbits and freeze the meat? Do you freeze any of it?
Yeah,
You freeze, I don't eat because I don't want, I don't like. So for me, I don't get freeze.
I know that I buy processed meat frozen, and it would seem to me that if you're going to be a responsible permit holder, you will have a plan on how to deal with these contingencies, and then you will address the contingencies, and we're here to help as much as we can. But we're not here to sympathize. We're here to help. But when you come back and you're not in compliance, I mean, you start off in non-compliance, and then you're coming in looking for a permit. You tied our hands. You've tied our hands. We'd like you to untie our hands, start with the building inspector's office, determine whether the structure's okay, then have a plan on how you're gonna deal with your excess animals that you know are gonna grow. Okay? That's all I have.
They need to apply for a permit too.
Yeah, they haven't. Yeah.
But we won't entertain a permit until the building structures are approved.
I think that's a relatively quick process, depending on the applicants, but I think we should give them a deadline.
Sounds reasonable.
I agree.
Yep.
And I don't know,
many-
given the posting in the paper and such, if next month, getting clearance by building by then is fair.
Is there an actual spot on the keeping for animals permit that the building inspector has to?
We removed that when we redid the regulation.
You know, we took all the zoning bylaw pieces out of it, which should not have been in the first place.
I remember this discussion that, you know, we're not the zoning bylaw, we're not the zoning enforcement, and really it isn't up to us to determine. But it is up to an applicant to go make an inquiry. That's why the building inspector is there. He deals with informal inquiries every day. When you ask whether or not your property is in compliance or a building is in compliance with the building department, they have a statute that tells them how many days they have to respond. These are inquiries they deal with every day. And this is an inquiry they have to make. Is that structure permitted? Do they need any other special relief? Once they have that, we certainly can look at the size of it, and Pam and any enforcement officer can make a determination as to the number of animals. But I think the most important thing is there's a contingency plan. When you get out of compliance, what is the contingency plan to get back into compliance? Without that, this is an incomplete, from a football term, pass. It's an incomplete pass. We've made a play and there's no chances of success. So with that, if they have a plan, I think there's a good chance of success. And I'll leave it at that.
I think meeting-wise, that would be, October would be sort of the,
I think I wouldn't
Earliest
go any
for
later
permitting.
than October, especially with the winter coming. I would want to see it by October to
I think
have
October would be fine. I think that's fair.
yeah, 'cause
October.
that gives the
October
2-week
meeting.
notice posting before the meeting, so.
And time to remedy the structural
Yeah.
issues if, should there be any decided. I think October, and then that's before any kind of harm could come to any animals, should there be continued non-compliance with cold and et cetera.
Okay, so you fully understand what we were,
I can write a letter.
yeah, so you write a letter? Okay.
Just in case,
You want to do a motion, though? I think we should do a motion.
Yeah, we should do a motion on this.
well, just in case, before we do that,
Yeah.
we should reduce this discussion and instructions maybe to a memo or as part of the minutes that can be incorporated into our minutes, so they have a copy of it. And if that needs to be
I would-
translated into Italian,
I would propose a
then we
translation
could
as well.
find somebody to do that, or they could find somebody to do that. Simply take our minutes, our instructions that are going to be
Translated.
incorporated into the minutes, take it to somebody that they know and trust, have it transcribed so that they're fully cognizant of the rules that we're discussing this evening and the procedures that we're discussing this evening.
I like that.
I like that.
Yep.
I think that's fair. When I review the minutes, I'll
Did
make sure that's
did you
included.
understand that? So what we'll do is, once the minutes come through, they would, or,
I will provide we can provide something translated loosely. And
I'm sorry, I think
I don't think we have to wait for the minutes. I
Yeah.
think we can take this
Yes.
section and
This
do it
section, yeah.
and have it ready for our next meeting, but in the meantime, distribute it.
yes,
so that either you can have someone, do you know someone that you trust that reads and understands English very well and can translate it to you?
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
fine.
You have someone that you know and trust that can translate the English and write it down so that he can read it? Does he know, he knows how to read? You know how to read?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
You can also do it on Google.
That's what I was-
It just,
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah,
transfer
yeah,
the
we can
whole
do it on
thing.
Google, but if they choose to have someone else, they can
rough,
also do
but it'll
that.
be good.
I would think, because
nothing.
sometimes Google, I can tell you right from the, it's right from the start, I can tell you Google Translate does not work well, because if I try and translate,
I
yeah.
prefer someone named Giuseppe to Google.
Yes, exactly. Me
You know
too.
somebody else.
Right, so that's why I'm saying we can do a Google Translate, but I would recommend, my suggestion, and I think we all are, in agreement, would be for you to bring it to someone you know and you trust that can actually write it down in Italian so that he can read it and understand that this is what we are looking for, this is what we expect, and this is what we need.
And these are the contingencies of your permit.
Yeah, and this is what, this is how, with the permit, this is how it will be, this is how it's gonna, this is what you need to be able to stay in compliance and not come here again.
So, but still, the building inspector are gonna come in and they see what it's there.
We would recommend that you go to the building inspector to make sure that
I
your,
don't know, it's necessary to do it, I don't know anymore.
It is.
Yes.
It will be.
yes, because that way we know, for us, when you come in front of us, and even for Pam who goes there, that everything is good for those animals before the animals are there.
And what about the inspector say, oh, this place is too small to handle all these animals?
Then we can't do anything about it.
You can have no permits.
There's an avenue for that through the building department. It's not here.
Right.
We don't have any jurisdiction. If they say that you need to do something, address a certain concern of theirs, you have a right to go to some other board and get a variance or have it considered. But at least you have an avenue of addressing that issue. We understand that it may not be exactly in compliance, but my feeling is with the size of your lot, I think they have over an acre, correct?
They have a big
I have a
lot.
lot of land.
Yeah, we're all at an acre in that area.
And unless this encroaches on a side yard or a rear yard for the structure, I'm thinking that they might be in fairly good shape here. But you need to get that determination from the building inspector.
Okay,
He will give you that determination. He'll tell you right away.
so what are we gonna do? I mean, we're gonna receive something, the mail, when,
So I think what we're going to do best is I think it needs to come as a letter from the director with essentially an outline. These are things that we discussed tonight, because it's not anything that we're forcing them to do, but we're just
Recommendations.
providing some recommendations from the director of, in order, where you need to go to
These
make
would
sure
be
that
best
things.
practices.
Yeah.
Recommendations, suggestions.
That's what they would be. They'd be best practices.
Is it a
Because we
motion?
can't give you advice, but we
I
can
would
tell. We're
like to
just.
make,
that's-
I would like to make a motion before the board entertains a permit on the keeping of animals at 175 Kendall Road in Tewksbury, that the permitted application is received along with approval from the building inspector for the structures in which the animals will be kept, and a detailed plan of how the recipients of the permit will stay in compliance with their outlined permit. Open to amendments.
Discussion, Ray?
No, I'm just thinking, and you'd be probably the best one to answer, is this something we can make a motion on where it's not a hearing? This is more of an informational session, and we know the letter will state what the director, because the director's not going to accept the permit application without things listed that are specified on it.
Well, going back to and this is discussion, going back to our original thoughts, we were going to try to take and encapsulate our thoughts
In a
so that
memo.
it ends up in our minutes, and we were going to reduce that to writing as almost a best practice for these folks to go seek the help that they need in order to get to the finish line of a permit.
Which could then apply for any other potential applicant. So we're just trying to provide a resource or a tool that potential applicants can use to
I think that's a
navigate.
larger picture. I think we need to deal with the issue at hand first, and then I think in the future, we should address the larger population. So I think tonight, we need to come to a resolution on how we will receive this permit and process it, whether it's through the director sending a memo based on the outlined points.
I think the only point the chairman's making is whether or not it's proper for us to do a motion.
At the same time, they're also in non-compliance. So,
Yeah, so that's where it's already in the director
Still
communicating.
in her purview.
Excellent.
So as it comes to the board is advisory here, and it's going back to the director for implementation, right? So
Yeah, because this was not brought for board action tonight. It was more for us to
chime in.
and try to provide our vantage point for what is needed.
Which is proper, because some, listen, our regulations aren't easy to read and understand, and there's many of them. And I have sympathy for people that can't do that, and I have sympathy for these folks. But we have to separate that sympathy from the job that we have, which is just compliance. So while we're sympathetic, and we'll do everything we can to get the correct best practices in your hand, when it comes to compliance, we're a adjudicatory board. We make decisions, and that's our function. But here, we're assisting the director with the future best practices to assist you. Okay?
Okay, so we'll do like this.
So I think the only thing that would help in this situation is if you can just give the director just even a handwritten note, just saying what you intend to do. Are you intending to go down the permit process? Okay? Because part of this too is trying to understand what you want to do.
Right, and it's chickens or rabbits, or chickens and rabbits. That's your two choices,
Or
right?
either chicken or either rabbit.
Remember, registration. Ray, could you explain registration to
Yeah.
them?
So as we were saying back when we're meeting in the winter,
Yes.
you have the ability to register without doing really much of anything except coming in and just saying, I want to keep up to 12 chickens or 2 to 4 rabbits. Or, not and, but or. But if you decide to keep both chickens and rabbits, that requires you to apply for a permit. So what the director needs to know is, what is your intention? What are you planning on doing right now? Because at this point, all we know is you're not in compliance, and we, as the board, have no idea what path do you want to take. So the director just needs to know from both of you, what is your plan moving forward? Do you want to just,
In this case, what I can see, he wants the chicken, he wants the rabbit.
You're gonna go to the building department and make sure that structure is okay before you make this decision. That's why we said the best practice would be
Okay, but whatever,
Yep, seek out-
whatever you say, I mean,
seek out the opinion of the building commissioner or his assistant on whether or not that structure complies with the zoning bylaw. If it does, you can then make a decision, registration or permit. Okay?
because from the director's standpoint, you're not in compliance now because you have no paperwork from the department. So she just needs to know from you, what is your intention? And that's why we had you come before us tonight.
he wants the train, he wants the ball. You know, one of the kids, they wanted the.
Yeah, so I think he-
Wanted the train, so I wanted the rabbit, he wants the chicken, in this point.
So that would be a permit.
Yeah.
And so for that, you would have to make sure that the buildings that you built are okay. And if they're not, you need to figure out how to make them okay, or what you need to make them okay, to then get the permit, to then get the chickens and rabbits.
And that's what the director will outline in that letter to you, is what you need to do step by step.
Okay, so we're gonna I'm gonna call, to make an appointment with the building inspector. I gotta do it, or I'm gonna receive something in the mail when it's gonna show up.
I don't think an appointment is necessary. You can go into the building department.
Where, at the town hall?
It's
Downstairs?
on the bottom floor here.
Oh,
You can go in there. He's there, I believe, from 8 to 10 every day, and he's there in the afternoon. You can call and say, I'd like to meet and go over my little structure to make sure I'm okay, because I'm applying for a permit. Okay? And he'll meet with you, and if necessary, he'll even go out and take a look. But that's up to them, that's up to their department, that isn't part of our purview, okay? It isn't part of our
so, and if you say, no, it's too small to have those animals.
then you have to fix it so that it meets the requirements. He'll tell you if
Okay.
it's
We go
not.
from there and we see.
Yeah, he's not just gonna say yes or no, he'll
Right.
tell you what's wrong. He'll tell you whether you have to move it.
Right,
But you have to seek out that opinion from him, okay?
okay, I'm gonna do that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that, and then we see. Okay.
So we had a motion on the table,
I rescind my motion.
okay?
So are you clear in what your letter would,
I believe so.
okay. Okay. Well, thank you for both coming tonight.
Thank you.
Okay,
And,
thank you guys.
You made
Work
a
with
lot
the
of
dir-
progress.
Yeah,
You really did. I know it's difficult, but you made a lot of progress tonight. I think you fully understand that it's
No,
just a
I understand it for a
process.
long time, I guess, but,
Good luck.
okay, so today it's Thursday, right?
Today's Thursday, so tomorrow,
Huh?
tomorrow's Friday?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm gonna call tomorrow and we see when they can coming up and see.
Awesome.
okay, good.
Good luck.
Okay.
Good luck.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you for your
It's just-
discourse tonight, because that really, that was great, because that really, that would be a very useful tool for us.
I think it helps all folks to understand that there's a process, and in a municipality, there's jurisdictions that are shared and jurisdictions that are exclusive, and these are simply the times when you run into exclusive jurisdiction, and sometimes people think you can solve that problem when we really can't. We can't even address it, but I think it's a good discussion for everybody to understand that we may not be the final say on anything.
I think it goes to your point, Ms. Amato, about it's not necessarily clear about how people navigate the systems here to get the end result they want. So this is a good example of having some type of a guidance or flow chart that people coming in can sort of see, what do I need to, because not everything is under the purview of the health department, but,
And that's when it gets complicated.
right, about who owns the issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there's a game called Plinko. Has anyone ever seen it?
Yes.
You drop, it's either a ball or a coin or a checker, and it just kind of plinks off of those nails.
It's just like on.
That's where they're at. I mean, and obviously, at any time that we can make that a straight drop or less nails in the way, obviously, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
having rabbit for dinner tonight, just so. It's waiting for me.
Oh, gosh.
Too soon, I can't.
Oh, gosh.
I know, right? I can't wait, anyway. So let's move on so I can
Yep.
have my dinner.
We'll hop to the next topic.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
Director reports.
Okay, so there was a West Nile positive mosquito in Chelmsford. Our risk is still low, but if anyone wants their yard sprayed, you can log on to Central Mass Mosquito and sign up to get your yard sprayed. Also, if you have any standing water in your yard, it's best to remove that because that attracts mosquitoes. Wear long pants and long sleeves and use mosquito repellent from dusk to dawn.
Yeah, especially given the heavy rainfall that we've been experiencing, things that would not normally flood, even we have our kids turn all the empty flower pots over because it's amazing what collects water.
I know,
The point is that you may hear the word flood insurance. Your regular home insurance does not cover these types of events, and flood insurance is available to everybody through the federal government. So if you have the possibility of being flooded out, you might want to look at the ability or the necessity of getting flood insurance to protect your home and your family in the event that you get surface waters. But obviously, a lot of people are finding out the hard way that their homeowner's insurance doesn't cover this type of event.
I brought this up last meeting. Ashley and Christina's dementia presentation will be August 24th from 10 to 11 a.m. at the senior center. If anyone's willing to attend, they can contact Susan at the senior center. Ashley is also doing a youth mental health first aid training, and that will be September 15th at the library from 10 to 4:30. If you would like to sign up for that, you can email Ashley. And then the Tewksbury Police Department is having a safety day on September 17th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the high school. The health department will have a table there as well. That's all my updates.
Okay. Tewksbury Cares, anyone? Any updates? I don't know if there's even a chance to have anything transferred from one to the other.
No, yeah, we had said that we had gone over through emails, and so not yet
Okay,
on a date that works for both.
okay, that's fine. That's it for business on the agenda. I guess that means it's time for the Rue Memorial motion. Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
We were going to discuss, we all had a homework to do.
Oh, that's right.
And I did my homework. So, as hungry as I am, I still want to talk about it.
No, go right ahead. I forgot about that.
All right. So we were talking about the lettering system for our restaurants. And I spoke to a lot of people, I pulled up a lot of information. The bottom line, it's really much easier than we would need to make it. I think the first thing we need to realize is we already have what we need to support this system. Basically, what Boston does is you go to restaurants twice a year for an inspection. And in that inspection, you have certain things that you go through. This is all the information that is needed to have the lettering of the restaurants to support it. So some of the things I pulled up, and you probably already know this, some of the things that I was pulling up is, for instance, in Boston, there's 3 different criterias. There's the one which is the critical violation, which is the foodborne. The second one is a critical violation, but it's just the reserving of unwrapped foods. And then the third one is non-critical. So it's these are the 3 things that they tap on. One of the things that so you do your inspection, say you do it in December or whenever you do it, that's when they get graded. But you give them 2 weeks to, like you normally do. It's everything that you do. You give them so many weeks to fix what the issues are. They fix the issue, and then you go in and you grade them. It's really simple because you're just looking at what you've already done. So restaurants that have an A, they only go there once a year. They don't do it twice a year, unless they get a B, and then they go there twice a year. And then the ones that are a C are just what you're doing now. You're doing it not just twice a year, you're going in to make sure you fix the problem. So I think the only way it would work would be what we already have in place. And I know you're concerned about staffing, but it's not changing anything that you're already doing. I think it's just a matter of deciding whether or not it's what we want to do. And, I mean, there's a lot of more that we need to talk about it, but this is just to open it up and think about it. It's really quite simple, and it works in Boston, and they don't have a lot of,
Much bigger than Tewksbury.
it's bigger, but as far as staffing,
Yeah.
they don't have a lot of staffing.
No.
So it's everything that you're doing now, and I think there's just a couple of things that you have to zone in on, and, but I really think it's doable.
Well, one thing I like that what Boston does is that, well, the first year that they implemented this, the grades were not posted publicly.
Oh.
So that gave people a chance that weren't going to receive an A, be able to have a chance to work on, because it's new for everyone, and we don't necessarily want to ding someone unfairly.
Not at all.
But I think, too, it comes back to what's in it for me. And that's when there'll be hopefully more compliance with the food safety code, is if someone knows that for the given year, especially if they didn't get an A, but they get a B or a C, that's now they're going to tackle that over the coming year, so that when they do have to be publicly displayed, they'll be able to proudly display an A.
And now they also have it, you can go on, it's called the mayor's, you can go on to, I'm sorry, it pulls up all these, and they have it in different languages. The mayor's food court, it's called, and you can go on to that, and you can pull up any of the restaurants in Boston, and you pick out the neighborhood where it is, and it'll tell you exactly what their grades are, which is really kind of cool. Well, for the people who do the right thing.
Yeah, I don't see us doing that, but one of the restaurants that I go to a lot in Boston, they had an A, but they also had a violation last year. So you can actually click on it and see what the violation is, that they were missing a floor drain cover. I'm like, whew,
Yeah.
that's more of a slip or trip hazard. That's not really a food safety issue that I need to be aware of. But yeah, I'd also found the same link, and it seems like it's very straightforward, and the fee schedule we have for food establishment inspections is based on the number of times you have to go out there each year. So the fee schedule already, in one sense, can let people know what letter grade they'd be getting based on the fee that they're paying.
Right. And it's amazing. It's not like we're doing anything different. We're just taking something that someone else is doing that's working, and it's working. You know, Boston is working. There's just so much. I mean, that each restaurant begins with an inspection of 100 points. And then, there's a whole system, and it's all written down on how they take away the points and what the points end up giving you as a letter. So it's really just taking what's already there and working and bringing it here. That's all. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Shannon, your new system that's online, does the public have access to any portion of it?
So that's just more for applications.
Permits and.
So it doesn't go into inspections or?
Do you know if that's a future module, or is this just a permit only?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
And this wasn't
Because
the Board of
basically,
Health.
that kind of report
It was the mayor's office that-
is in the mayor's office, so the mayor must be compiling
from something.
Yeah, from something.
this information and releasing a certain portion of it to this database that's available to the public. So there must be some sort of portal that is facilitating that. And so your point is well taken, that there must be some criteria on what gets reported and what doesn't get reported on this mayor's website. And that would be important to me, because I'd like to know that I'm not interrupting someone's business by reporting something that's the drain cover. Why is it even on there? So I guess that would be the most important thing to me, is that if we went in that direction and we had that kind of accessibility, that the data that's being transmitted would be related to the cleanliness, the, food safety, that criteria. And I would be interested to know whether the mayor has in their office come to that analysis, and maybe we could get a hold of that and take a look at it.
Ken, I mean, it's all there. When you pull it up, everything is there. It'll show you exactly, the information that the mayor's office has is the same information that the Board of Health has, because all that information came from whoever did the inspection. So you're right, there must be a way that the portal sort of feeds it in, and it's very detailed.
They may have inspection software that kind of auto-populates things like that.
All right.
It provides transparency, but I think the bigger thing that what the mayor's office did is it reduces the number of phone calls to the Boston Health Department wanting to know before someone goes into a restaurant, why does this restaurant have a B or a C?
Right.
So now the public, if they're technology inclined, they can actually do that research themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it was,
So the last thing we want to be doing is giving opinions.
no, you can't. Can't. Everyone has their opinion.
Okay, well, thank you for ramping. I don't know how that escaped me from putting it in the agenda, because I knew that was our homework.
With that, I think you're going to have to make the motion to adjourn.
Yep.
Yes. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been put forth and second to adjourn tonight's meeting. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. It is 7:26. Good night, Tewksbury.
Good night.